grandfather thing. What's this?
This is the Canterbury Panther. No one's ever caught definitive proof.
I could take you.
We leave at first light. Hey, stick with me. It'll be fun.
You know where you're going, right?
Yo, and welcome to My Summer Lair. I'm your host, Sammy. I'm doing this introduction with a lit flashlight under my chin, Younan. Gather around the campfire, old children of the 80s. Have I got a movie for you? In the 80s, in the glorious 80s, we used to put children in so much danger. Think of classic movies like Goonies, Adventures in Babysitting, and Stand By Me. Often, through the rough excitement of the epic hero's journey, many of those kids begin to discover who they truly are and what they're truly capable of. Bookworm is a wonderful throwback to that joyful 80s child endangerment. Bookworm is quirky and a little strange, which is much like the 80s. 11-year-old Mildred is forced to reconnect with her estranged father when a faulty toaster puts her mom in the hospital. Somebody needs to look after the kid, right? Even if her estranged father is the washed-up magician Strawn Wise, played by Elijah Wood. Think of emo Vegas magicians like Chris Angel. Picture Elijah Wood with black nail polish, and you can see why Mildred is not impressed. Speaking of magic, Mildred has a plan. Her loser father is going to take her camping in the radiant yet rugged New Zealand landscape. New Zealand is amazing in this movie. So she can snap photos of a mythological beast known as the Canterbury Panther. Take a second, think about it. How much is a Bigfoot photo worth? She gets a couple of photos of this rumored panther, sells them, and she can help her struggling single mother pay some bills. Boom! It all sounds like a simple plan, right? A lousy Vegas act and a nerdy 11-year-old go camping in search of a panther that may or may not be real. Stand By Me was a simple plan about 4 boys going off to see a dead body. The simple plans rarely go according to plan. So you can plan for that. Mildred is going to be put in so much danger. She's going to have an adventure. And maybe for the first time ever, her silly father, magician Strawn Wise, is going to learn what real magic is. Bookworm is such an endearing love letter to those classic in-over-your-head 80s movies. Sadly, all that's missing is quicksand, which back in the day felt like a true danger, like genuine threat that warranted an after-school special. I so enjoyed that this conversation with Bookworm's director Ant Thompson included dropping references to the Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, and the Amazing Kreskin. Quick tangent, I met the Amazing Kreskin once, and I had to introduce myself. I was a little bit annoyed. I said, "Hi, my name is Sammy," and he did not respond with, "Oh, I know." I was like, "Yo, amazing what?" Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, and the Amazing Kreskin. Just fantastic old-timey references that if you were a child in the 70s or 80s, these things were absolutely mesmerizing. This My Summer Lair conversation was a delight. That me, a left-handed Egyptian from Scarborough, could joyfully connect with a film nerd filmmaker from New Zealand over the dazzling puzzle of the Bermuda Triangle. That right there, that demonstrates how connected the mysteries of the universe truly are. Is Bigfoot real? Hard to know. Is magic real? Hard to say. Bookworm is real though, and this conversation with the movie's director Ant Thompson kicks off by talking about Fast and Furious, a stupendous movie franchise that has complete disregard for real life physics. Physics is real, and so thankfully is Fast and Furious. That's the delight of a satisfying movie. You don't need to be the Amazing Kreskin to know this is Stephanie's time to shine.
Sound, the final frontier. My Summer Lair is an enterprise, a pop culture voyage with a continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new creators and celebrate established producers, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now here is your host, Sammy Younan.
Before we talk about Bookworm properly, there's a pivotal moment in the movie I gotta acknowledge. Elijah Wood says Fast and Furious is the greatest franchise in film history. Considering you directed Bookworm and you also came up with the story, is there any biography or truth to that statement?
Well, I will neither confirm nor deny that statement. let's just say that came up relatively late on in the process, possibly on during shooting that sequence. So yeah, we had a few variations on things that slotted into that place and ended up going with that one. So yeah, it just felt right for the
character.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was inherently funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, look, we're silly at heart, and if we can goof off
Mm-hmm.
in a few minutes throughout the film, we're gonna push it.
What were some of the other franchises you guys threw around? You said you had a couple that you improv'd. What were some?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Toby, the writer, inserted a few. There's a little bit inside our Lord of the Rings sort of references.
Yeah.
Inside baseball fans. So we could have gone for that on the nose stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I would have been able to get it past Elijah, to be honest. There's a lot of sort of meta references in a way to Hollywood and to the entertainment world, because we just wanted to make a little bit, poke a bit of fun at the superficiality of a lot of the sort of stuff, the name dropping.
Mm-hmm.
He has this crazy monologue where he's just dropping names left, right, and center, and it's just, to me, it's just you spend a little bit of time on that fringe. Not that we're in the Hollywood circles like Elijah, but just you're adjacent to it, but you can still feel that kind of pomp, and everyone's trying to climb that ladder. Everyone's trying to connect to someone famous, and
Mm-hmm.
Toby and I just like making fun of that stuff.
But it kind of runs parallel through some of the themes in Bookworm, because Elijah Wood plays the American, and like New Zealand is featured quite a bit. Like the landscape and everything like that is featured in the movie. And that's obviously a lot of people came to New Zealand through Lord of the Rings and films like that, Peter Jackson's work. And so it's interesting because like New Zealand does have thriving film industry, and you guys make great directors and put out great movies and stuff like this. But there's also this kind of like you said, there's this Hollywood kind of element, right? Where there's name dropping and hustling and all these kind of things that don't always seem to apply to the New Zealand film making, I guess, area, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's two different, completely different worlds. The actual New Zealand film industry itself is a cottage industry. It's really tiny.
Mm-hmm.
What is big is the international projects that come through, same as Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Canada as well has it. It's like we have the big boys come down and make these monstrous, huge tentpole movies, and they keep the crews and everyone fed, and it keeps the machine working,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very hard it's not a sustainable industry in some respects if we took all that away and just relied on the homegrown cinema, because it's so tough out there. The landscape's changed so much over the last decade or so. So it's just, we've got a very small budget to actually operate in terms of New Zealand films financed without that sort of market support. So we kind of feel like we punch above our weight in terms of like what we actually spend versus the output. And, having breakout stars like Taika Waititi
Mm-hmm.
has certainly helped lift the profile. But, there's like, a couple of names over this a whole period of time. So it would be great if there was a lot more, to be honest. Hopefully Gerard Johnson, who's smashed it out of the park with Megan.
Yeah, another one I was gonna bring up. Yeah, because it's like, it's starting to get out there more, right? So like, it's the same thing with like Hong Kong and India and stuff like that. They have huge film industries, but a lot of the people, especially in America, don't always know their names or are familiar with those movies.
Yeah, it's really, it's just. I remember some crazy survey years ago that someone did where they were asking audiences coming out of theaters, like, do you know who directed this film? And like 99% didn't know who the director was. And then even Jurassic Park, only 40% knew Spielberg
Mm-hmm.
was the director. That was when the survey was done. So it's kind of like if you can even become a brand. So that's why it's so remarkable that what Taika's done in a way, because his brand is crazy. Like he's just so well known. He's on par with Peter Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're going to have another one. It'll be amazing if we do, but they're essential for the trickle down effect.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that comes out of those people that explode and then bring back a lot more business with them. So, great having people who just want to keep shooting projects back in New Zealand as well. That kind of helps.
Let's stick with your brand though, because part of your brand is like you're a film nerd. You're very much into underground cinema and overlooked film gems. So how cool was it for you to have Bookworm be the opening film of the Fantasia Film Festival in 2024?
Oh man, it was a homecoming for me because Fantasia's, I've got a huge personal connection with that place, with that festival. I've been coming since '99, right? So I was there the very first couple of years, and I remember bringing Prince over at the very first year for a 3D event that happened just before Fantasia. So, and just hung out with those team and felt like they welcomed me in as part of the family, and I got to know everyone really well. But then it started clashing with the film festival back home, and I could never make it over here, even though a lot of the projects that I worked on or produced started playing at Fantasia. It wasn't until Come to Daddy that I actually could attend again and present the film. But when Mitch said that they wanted it for opening night, I actually pushed back against it and said, I just don't think this is the right film for opening night. Because in my head, it's just like, it's still the type of film that I know goes off at Fantasia is like, there's a particular type of film that really connects with the genre fans. And I just felt like, man, I don't know if we're that film, I just don't want to disappoint that crowd. But holy shit, man, they went so enraptured and embraced the film and was so loving and respectful. It was the best decision. Mitch was absolutely right. So I'm so happy he was like, committed to doing it, and the whole Fantasia team backed it. It was a magical experience for me. I think it was the best screening I've ever been involved with.
That's really cool.
Honest.
Yeah. That magical experience, like in Bookworm, Mildred, she's an 11-year-old precocious kid, and she's determined to get footage of this panther. And I'm aware of what I'm asking, but is this creature what Mildred calls a great big giant panther? Is it mythical? Is it real? Is it like New Zealand's Bigfoot? Like, what's the deal with this panther?
He refers to it as New Zealand's Bigfoot because it is it's an urban myth, but all urban myths are based on something. Like there's a real mechanism that started the whole those legends. So the Panthers there's a true history to it, whether it happened that way or not. But they believe that a big cat, a panther, escaped a long time ago and has probably been interbreeding with the wild feral cats. And so there's been ones shot in the past, like these massive feral monsters that are kind of huge. They're not panther size, but they're pretty damn big. So it's not too far to extrapolate, like maybe there is a really big one that has just been, lurking around and hiding. So the locals down there absolutely believe it. We encountered people who had seen it, and they were not looking for their 2 minutes of fame or column inches on the paper. They were private people who didn't want to be on record, but they told us their encounter story, and they were pretty gripping. And so we had that kind of going into the shoot after like being on the ground down there with them. So we were kind of panther juiced up, man. Yeah, and look, I was a 70s kid, man. I believed the Bermuda Triangle was a very real thing. And it's such a shame that no one even talks about it these days.
Yeah, there's a missing sense of wonder now, right? Like
it's an absolute, technology has ruined everything, I tell you, on so many levels. But that sense of like, as a kid, that's where the world was completely felt like this wondrous place that had, so many areas to explore that man hadn't been around. So you completely commit and believe that Bigfoot could still be wandering around, that you could believe that there's something beneath the ocean and in the Bermuda Triangle causing all these things. So, I feel like there's a bit of sadness that's been lost over the years, and that kids are now just need that immediate, result. They just want to, nothing can be, they just Google it in a second, like, oh yeah, that's over. Like there's no,
no wonder.
No wonder, no escapism. And it's really sad. Maybe I'm just being like a naive old fool, but hopefully the film is a little bit of a tribute to that kind of belief and holding on to that magic as a kid you have.
Well, speaking of magic, there is quite a bit of magic in the film. Elijah Wood plays like a Chris Angel type magician, a Vegas magician, right? Down to the black nail polish and all of that. Are there a lot of magicians and magic clubs in New Zealand? Like, how do you feel about magic and like magicians?
I've been a huge, follower of magic ever since I was young. So I was that, the amazing Kreskin, and, I grew up watching all these incredible TV magicians that were like superstars back in the day. They had their own half-hour show, hour-long shows. Prime
David
time.
Copperfield, obviously.
Yeah, he came a bit later, but in the 70s, these kind of, very kind of, they were just interesting variety show style ones. That was the ones that hooked me in. And then I just got into really like finesse, sleight of hand magic, loving those sort of guys, and have just always been, interested in it. I go see them when I can, but we don't have anything like the Magic Castle. We don't have a deep history of great magicians that have broken out. There's some very good ones, but nothing compared to the stars that I see. Well, now they're all on TikTok, man. They've all changed. They've all switched over. They've got their own sort of like channels now on that. And there's some. It's crazy that, because I just got a flyer the other day in my email box that's for an illusionist that's coming to Auckland. And the poster looked exact, because we did a mock-up poster for Strawn Wise, the character from Bookworm, one of the Vegas posters. And so, but then like a poster that's so similar to that one came in my email box for an illusionist that's coming down to New Zealand. And I was like, oh my God, nothing's changed. They're still out there, and still doing these tours.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that character's an amalgamation of a few of those kind of early 2000s. And Dynamo, he's kind of like one of those guys as well. So we wanted to not make him a cartoon version of it. We kind of, take that sort of character and then take the luster off of him, and, someone who's gone through the washing machine a little bit of life.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we got to wrap up, but I did want to just touch upon two short things. One was that the character, Mildred, is played by Nell Fisher. She was fantastic in Bookworm, but she's moving from New Zealand, where Bookworm is set, to Hawkins, Indiana. Is she excited to encounter some stranger things? Like, have you had a chance to talk to her about all this? Because it should be a lot of fun.
She's such a professional. She's very stumm. Her lips are sealed about all of that sort of stuff.
I could imagine,
she'll just say, that she's loving being on the show, and looks forward to seeing the whole thing at the end, like we all are. So, I mean, I think she's a star on the rise. She's got something pretty special, pretty magical, if I can say that. But we all knew on the set when we could see it happening in front of our eyes that this kid's going to go far. So I just wish her all the best. She's such a lovely, lovely human being.
Her and Elijah Wood have great chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. They got on like a house on fire, and she loves Elijah's kids as well. Like she's just such a sweetheart, and we all sort of bonded as a big old family, because it was like a camping adventure for all the cast and crew. We all sort of went on a very strange summer camp, and just prayed that we weren't going to be attacked by a mythical beast.
That happens. And the other one that people bring up a lot too is Turbo Kid 2. Are there any updates on that, or are you going to roll your eyes? Because I know people keep asking you, and I talked to Monroe Chambers a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, and he says people still keep asking him and bringing up Turbo Kid. So is there any like hints or winks? It was funny.
Well, we were at the opening night party last night, and I was hanging out with Jan and Frank from RKSS, and they were filling me on everything they're up to. And look, that's just a project that I just don't know what's going on. We've been trying to like keep things moving forward over the years. Look, if it happens, it's going to be incredible. I can't say when it's going to happen. I'm just sort of in the dark as much as you are in terms of that. But it's the script's there. It's all planned. So we just need to start finding the money. It's a much bigger project than the first one in terms of scope.
Well, that's cool to know, And then, so last question, circling back to Bookworm, one of the key cast members in the movie is the New Zealand landscape. How was that experience shooting a movie which was mostly held outdoors, right? Because you're kind of at the mercy of those elements.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot harder than I thought naively at the start. I thought it was going to be a very simple walk in the park, but it was logistical nightmare for the producers and everyone organizing the logistics behind the scenes. It was a constant, influx arrangement that had to be sort of, we all had to be Nostradamus every single day of how things were going to change. And the weather down there is such an unpredictable microclimate. It could change within a couple of hours from like, freezing conditions to like incredibly hot.
Mildred didn't seem fazed by the weather at all. She seemed on top of it. As an 11-year-old like weather network.
She lived down there. She was pretty hardy. So yeah, no, it's shooting on location is like you get everything, all the pluses, and then it's like the just constant fear that things can go horribly wrong in any situation. But we got lucky, man. The weather gods smiled on us most of the time, so we were pretty happy.
And you also have sold the rights now, right, for Bookworm, and you're hoping for a later release, like a wider release, obviously.
Yeah, it's getting released through Photon in Canada, and then it's going out in the US, and we're going out in Australia and New Zealand in August when I get back home.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going out in the UK. So it's getting out all over. So it's sold to most of major territories.
Following the successful screening, as you said, you had a great response from the Fantasia crowd. Did you celebrate in Montreal with some like particular like poutine?
No, I'm trying to stay away from my hearts, man. I used to eat more poutine than anybody on earth here, and I think I put like 40 pounds on last time I ate poutine. So
that'll do it.
I'm trying to just stick with a liquid diet here.
All right, good for you for resisting the temptation. That can be difficult in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I might take some. I'll sneak some back in my carry-on.
Yeah, or put some in your pocket or whatever. Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much, Ant, for hanging out. Thank you so much for the movie. High five to you and the team. It was a lot of fun. Like, it's funny because you mentioned like Fantasia and like showing it at a genre film festival. But this one is in terms of genre all over the place. There's a little bit of horror. There's a little bit of Western. there's some family stuff, some heart there. Like, it's kind of all over. Yeah. It's a genre blender.
It's a genre. Thank you, man. Thanks, Sam. It's lovely to talk to you.
Yo, that was Bookworm's director, Ant Timpson. I'm Sammy, host of My Summer Lair. How come nobody sees Elvis anymore? He's only 89 years old. He'd still be around. Just like the amazing Kreskin and the Bermuda Triangle. That's magic, and that's wonder. We used to actively have these qualities as a kid. Hopefully we still do as adults. It's harder to maintain that stuff as an adult. I celebrate magic and wonder and mystery in my Substack newsletter, My Pal Sammy. In fact, for this Bookworm episode, the companion newsletter, it's called A Bookworm Reveals the Secret to Endless Wonder. It includes a poll. In Bookworm, Mildred's world is turned upside down when her loser and lousy father, the washed-up magician Strawn Wise, comes to look after her and agrees to take her camping to shoot a photo of a mythological creature, the infamous Panther. In the Substack companion newsletter, My Pal Sammy, for this episode, the poll that I ask is, what do you believe is real? Is Bigfoot real? Is the Loch Ness Monster real? Is the Bermuda Triangle real? Yes, it is. Are UFO sightings real? And finally, crop circles. Are crop circles real? Go and vote. Google Substack My Pal Sammy. The newsletter is called A Bookworm Reveals the Secret to Endless Wonder. Or check out the show notes at mysummerlair.com for the newsletter link, and you can go vote in the poll. Substack My Pal Sammy to Google or mysummerlair.com for the link. 100% about the Bermuda Triangle. 100%. It is real and it is spectacular. Thank you so much for listening to me in a universe filled with magic, mystery, and wonder. Bookworm, yo.